Hello friends. Today we'll be going to see how to submit a form in Spring Boot. So we'll be using Spring Boot and JSP as our text tab. So in our previous video we have seen how to configure JSP. So we'll be take use of that project, and we'll be submitting a form on that project. So if you have not seen that video, so you can check out in our channel. So let me create a controller for so we'll be submitting a form. So let's say registration, right? So let me create a controller first, that is the registration controller. And let me give it as a controller because we will be submitting. So rest controller will not be work here, annotation rest controller will not be work here. So we have to use a rest only controller annotation. So let me give a route mapping for this because we'll having multiple handler methods here. So register. So the controller is created. Now to load the initial page, we have to give a handler mapping, right? So let me create it. That is the string load page. Let me more specific, register page. Now we have to return the view name here, that is the registration form. So we have to create the registration form JSP. So the JSP file name should be registration form. Let me give it as get mapping because we will be loading the initial page from here. So now we have to create the registration page. So let me create it. So thus now the JSP file. So the registration form. Next, so HTML, the markup would be the HTML, and here we go. So the registration page is created. Registration, let me give a name, registration form. The title for this class. Now, so okay, now we have to create a div. So let me give the heading. Which one heading for registration? Okay, no registration form. Okay, now give it as div. So here we will have some of the controls like labels and fields here to fill up the data which will be passed to Spring Boot. So let me give as label. So the label is first name, and the input we have to give some input that will be type is text, and give the ID as f name, and name as f name. So f name also we are ready with one input. So let me copy it because we will be sending multiple inputs. So let me copy it. So this should be middle name, this would be last name, and one more field we can fill up, that is our email address. Email address, email address. So the name, here we have to change the ID and the name. This is the last name, this is the last name. Now we can give it as email, and here we can give it as email. Now we have to give actually we are submitting a form, right? So we have to place a button. So input type button, and here let me save as submit, ID as submit. The input type would be submit, right? It's not a button, and the name is submit. Let me delete it. So let's try to load our page first. So let me run our application. So we are ready. Now this is our root URL, and we have given a gate mapping here to load the page. Okay. So now let me go to our localhost, and here 8080, and we have the registration URL, register URL, right? Now we can see, so this is the page. So we have successfully loaded the page, but it's not looking good. Let me add some CSS, right? CSS to this. So for that we have to um, add some style here. So the HTML has a style attribute, style tag, right? So let me define a class container. So the container would be would have height width so 30%, because we don't have much controls here to give, and let me give the margin left as auto and margin right as auto. Now let me give the class here to apply the CSS. We have to give the class, right? Class attribute for that element. So let me check. Now it came to the middle. Let's have some. Okay. Okay, now let me add some height to the input boxes, right? Input, let me give around height as 40 px, and the margin bottom around 10 px to look good. Okay, so now we have a submit button and all. So okay, so this is done. We are ready with the form, and now we have to define the handler mapping to catch that form, right? The submission to map that submission to a handler method. So let me give it a let me define that. So here we have to see we have to give it as model and view, because we will be rendering another page after the form submission. So first we'll do one thing. We'll submit the form, and then we'll render the successful message to another JSP page. So let me give it as register the method. Okay, now we'll be submitting, right? We'll submit some data, right? So to submit some data, we have to put those data in those data, like F name, the first name, middle name and last name and email in a model. So before creating this, right, before creating this, we have to create a model so that we can map those attributes, right, those elements to that model. So let me give it as model. So registration, let it be registration. Okay, now here we'll have, because we will be mapping that first name, last name and email address, right? So we have to define some fields here, that is the if name. So let me copy it, and m name, l name and email. To successful mapping, right, in a form to a model, right, to a, let's say, this attribute, right, this input attribute has to map to a to this model, right? So we have to keep the field name as the id, as the input name, right, input name. So here we have given f name, so the registration field, registration class must have a f name at field to map that value to here. So that's the reason why I have given all the names, right, all the field names as same to the registration form JSP. So that is required to map the value in to the model. So let me generate the getter setter. So let me terminate it. So now we have created the model. Now we have to define the, now we can define the that handler mapping for that form submission. So we have a method we have an annotation, that model attribute, right? So model attribute can map, right? So the registration form can be mapped through the model attribute annotation. So let me give it registration, and here, so we are returning a model and view. So let me create a model and view object, mv object, that is a new model and view. So we'll be returning a view like registration, excuse me, so success. So this is another view name, so which will be returned after the form submission. So we have to create a file, JSP file, for this view mapping. So let me return it, then we'll be creating it. So we have, because we are posting, we are getting we are submitting some data, so the method should be post mapping. Now, okay, now we have the second the last step is, right, we have to we have to create the JSP for registration success. So let me create another JSP file, because we are redirecting that form submission. After the form submission, we will be redirecting it to another JSP, another view, that is the registration success view. So let me give the title name is registration is successful, and here will be printing h1 let's say registration successful. Okay, now what is the error? Okay, what is the error? There is no error, right? Okay, so now we are ready to submit our form. So let me start. No, one thing is pending, right? So we have defined the handler mapping, but here in the JSP we have not mentioned that form name, right? Form URL for which we will be posting the data. So for that we have to take use of form tag, so that there we have to give the action as a register. So let me copy it from here, that is the register. So here we have to pass it, and the method should be right, because we will be sending will posting the data, sending the data to backend, so it would be like the post method. Okay, now we are ready to submit the data. So I have started the server. Okay, now go to the page. So this is our loading page URL, right? Now we have loaded, right? We have the system, that page is loaded. Now let me give a Java tech guides, and the email is Java tech guides @gmail.com. Okay, now let me submit the data. See, so the registration page, right? We have given the we have what I think, after the registration, right? We have redirected this page. So that is about the registration. That is sending the data from data back to the Spring Boot application, right? I take use of form submission. Now, see, sometimes we have to send the data back. Send the data back to the UI, right? Let's say in the submission page, right? We have given our name, and first name, last name, and email address, right? So let's say we have to show a message which will contain those information in the registration successful page, right? So sometimes we might have that requirement. So let's see how we can send back the data to the register to the JSP itself. So here we have given the model, right? Here we have the model and view object we are returning, and we are mapping the view as registration success. Now we have a method, right? We have a method in model and view class. So that is the add object. So here we can pass the data. Let's say um, we are giving the message, right? Message, the custom message to show in the UI, that is that the registration is successful. So I have added the attribute name as message, and here the message is registration successful, right? Now, so we have added the object, added the object in the model and view, but now the time is to get those data, right, in the registration success page. So here we are writing the message. So let me write whatever we are sending from the backend, right, from the control in the JS to the JSP. So let me give. So this is our this is the syntax for writing the model objects, right? Writing the module objects in the JSP base. So let us try one more time to check whether we are getting. So registration successful, because we have given double dot here, right? So to identify it, we have given the double dot here. So now let me pass the registration object itself, right? So in the next will be writing, right? We'll be viewing our whatever we are passing in the registration page in our registration successful message, because only string data is not enough, right? So there is more complex data structures we might have required. So that will be simply returning the registration object itself, so that we we can write our input fields, right? Write our fields in the JSP, registration success JSP. So let me give the name is registration. So what we will be doing, we will be passing the registration itself. So now we have given the model name as registration, and here we have to write our fields. So let's say I'm writing as welcome. So here we can use the name of the model and then the field of that model. So let's say name, and this is our middle name and name, and this is our last name. And here we will be also printing the email address of what we have submitted. Let's check whether it's printing the registration details or not. So now we'll be refreshing it. So again we'll be submitting our data. So what happened? The property email is not found. Okay, so let me check why it's not okay, sorry. So it's the other way. So let me correct the registration field name. Actually we have given the wrong, so there is a typo in the email, so that's the reason it's giving the error. So now the service is the server is restarted. Okay, let me reload the page again, and we are giving the data. So see, so we have the registration success message and our submitted first name, last name, um, and our email. So this is all about this video. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe the channel. Thank you.